Now, of course, one of the faces of this bravery is the new president of CEI, Kent Lassman. I have known Kent since almost my first days I came down into Washington. But what's interesting is that many of you have known Kent too, whether or not you knew him personally. Because if you look out at all of the nonprofit work that's gone out over there in the last decade, Freedom Works, the State Policy Network, Citizens for a Sound Economy, ALEC, usually when these people had a good idea, it was because Kent was advising them in some shape or form. And he has now come to lead CEI. There are a lot of things that I still don't understand about Kent. I do not know why anyone would choose to do triathlons when they could drink instead. I do not know why anyone would ride a bicycle into town when they could drive a Silverado 3/4-ton Chevy pickup truck. I don't know how he does this with 4 children and a dog and a wife and everything else he does, but he does. And I'm very pleased right now to bring up on the stage CEI President Kent Lassman. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Despite that warm demeanor tonight, Kim Strassel, she's a stone-cold killer. If you've seen her on Face the Nation, you know she goes straight for the jugular. So I got off easy tonight. I'm happy to call her a friend. I'm grateful for her devotion to freedom. And not shocking, we're both laissez-faire parents, too. Kim, it's wonderful to have you with us tonight. I know that I speak for nearly 900 people in this room when I say thank you for putting your talents to work in pursuit of honest, clear, and hard-hitting civic discourse. Now, there's another woman in this room who has similar qualities. She's hardworking, practical, and exceptionally talented. Even more impressive than her successful careers in the private sector, in government service, and in leadership of the nonprofit world is the pro-freedom record of Secretary Elaine Chao. I'm comfortable saying, during the Bush years, the Department of Labor was a place where freedom moved forward. Don't take my word for it. Ask the union members who now have a better understanding of how unions spend their dues. I couldn't be happier than to see her advising the president once again. Now, for all of us here, let's look forward to a hell of a good night. I want to tell you why I'm optimistic. This year, we've seen the administration halt a number of harmful energy regulations and clear the way for major energy projects that have been stalled for years. Last week, we won. We won on the Paris Climate Treaty. By calling off that costly and ineffective, not to mention unconstitutional agreement, the president opened up the field to genuine environmental stewardship based on property rights. For more than 20 years, from Kyoto to Paris, CEI has fought economically destructive policies that lead to poverty. Last week, we scored a big victory. It's a victory for everyone who wants abundant, affordable, and reliable energy. You know, a few years ago, a little newspaper labeled CEI an obscure think tank. That was as we took Obamacare to the Supreme Court. Last week, it was Anderson Cooper on CNN who called CEI a little-known organization who has a big influence. Let's take a look.
The little-known organization that apparently had a big influence on the president's climate decision. CNN senior investigative correspondent Drew Griffin has the lowdown on who they are. He also tried to find out who's financing them. Take a look.
Located in a nondescript office in Washington, D.C., the Competitive Enterprise Institute and its director of energy may have just helped change the political and environmental direction of an entire nation.
And it's been a big win now for you, correct? I mean, this is kind of a coup for your group.
It's a small organization. We have been very persistent. We haven't given up, and I think we have, to a large extent, finally prevailed through the actions of President Trump and his administration.
Frankly, I don't care what they call us in the media, as long as they get our name right and we keep winning. Now, why else should we be optimistic? We finally have a budget proposal that tackles regulation as a key to reducing the size and scope of the federal government. We see members of Congress and the White House have recognized the creeping effects of regulatory dark matter, and they're actively considering solutions. I can tell you it's encouraging to have both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue interested in CEI's regulatory reform work. CEI took on New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, and we won. Now, we're making progress against the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Our class action litigators, they have won millions of dollars for consumers and shareholders and landmark decisions that protect us from trial lawyers who are only interested in lining their own pockets. Tonight we celebrate CEI and the ideas that drive us all toward a healthier, wealthier, and freer society. And we're winning in other ways, too. The media presence of CEI, scholars, and our work, it's at an all-time high. And for the 7th year in a row, we've received record-breaking support for this dinner. Thank you to each and every one of you for helping us make that happen. We're well aware that people come to the CEI dinner for fun, not just to hear me talk. Thank you. If you're going to a party in Washington, you want to be hanging out with the folks from CEI. Fred Smith, I'm talking about you. In this room, it's safe to let your freedom freak flag fly. So I've been at CEI a little more than a year. And this past year was crazy. I'm not even talking about the election. As Kim said, on lunchtime on my second day, we were subpoenaed for more than a decade's worth of our advocacy work on energy. This went all the way back to the 1990s. And let me tell you, an introduction to your lawyers is a memorable way to start. We beat back the AGs for clean power because their attack on free speech was not only corrupt, but illegal. And looking ahead, I have one big idea to share. It's an old one. It's a part of CEI's history and certainly part of our future. I'm talking about integrity. It's a word, it's a state of being. It's about wholeness. It demands consistency and the unity of thought with action. There could be no integrity in our organizations, in our political leaders, or in our law without accountability to a standard. Now at CEI, that standard is excellence. It's excellence in what we produce. It's in the advancement of human welfare through capitalism, which is based on a very simple three-legged stool. There's private ownership, clear property rights, a price system, and the rule of law. I believe integrity is the watchword for an emerging American era. If politics is the means to achieve policy, authenticity is the 21st century political currency. And integrity is nothing more than a word for authenticity in action. Integrity, consistency, action, principle. This is CEI. It was in his 1845 memoir that Frederick Douglass wrote, "I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others, rather than to be false and incur my own abhorrence." I promise you, CEI will be true to principle, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others. It is past time to fundamentally transform the relationship between a lawless, expansive regulatory state and a free people who pursue their lives, build, create, and innovate according to their own plan. We, together, are at the vanguard of that transformation, and there is a lot of work to do. I ask you to think about this. The overwhelming majority of the wealth that will sustain the world in our lifetime has not yet been created. And for that reason, we can go forward with optimism and good cheer. We can be confident that our path to create limited, transparent, and lawful regulatory environments is a path with purpose. So let's kick off with a fantastic dinner. Tonight we will present an award to celebrate the essential renewable resource, human ingenuity. And we will certainly hear from some wonderful speakers. When the program is ended, please stick around for that movie. I look forward to seeing each of you at the after party. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being with us all year long.